On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we are talking about a huge advantage that Bo Nix has this year that he hasn't had since high school. We're going to hear from Bo and Sean Payton on how big that will be for Bo this year. Plus, we're talking to our guy, Brian Baldinger, and we're going to round out the show with some really good news for the Broncos, and it all starts now. Bo's Big Nix advantage. We're breaking it down on today's DNVR Broncos podcast. Getting it started a little spicy, raising some eyebrows on the DNVR Broncos podcast. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. We are the DNVR Broncos podcast. Ryan Koenigsberg to my left, Henry Chisholm to my right, and Dion Andy here behind the camera. Fellas, how we doing today?
Doing great. Woke up super early for no reason, and then just decided to get started on some errands that I needed to run today. Now I feel I've already accomplished a lot.
Man, getting stuff done before the show feels like your afternoon's going to be free.
Yeah, still got a lot more things I need to get done.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of this afternoon, the next 30 hours are big for us and the Broncos, and you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned because today we got the show going right now. We got Baldy in 30 minutes. This afternoon, we're doing an exclusive interview with our guy, Alex Singleton, which is going to drop exclusively on YouTube this afternoon, this evening. So make sure to stay tuned for that. That's going to be great. It's the first time that anyone has talked to Alex since he's got back on the field after tearing his ACL. Of course, he was participating in OTAs last week, so we're going to catch up with him. So stay tuned for that. Then tomorrow, we've got OTAs in the morning, so we're not going to be doing a show at our normal 11 a.m. time because the Broncos are going to be practicing. We're going to be out there. So stay tuned to our social channels, DNVR_Broncos on Twitter, and of course, DNVR Sports on Instagram for the most up-to-date updates on that. And then tomorrow night, we're going to be out at Coors Field to break down Broncos OTAs, but also we're going to have interviews with nearly every single player that's out there. And so you're going to hear from Alex Singleton, Jaquan McMillan, Jonathan Cooper, Marvin Mims, Zach Allen, Will Lutz, Jaleel McLaughlin, Cortland Sutton, Garrett Bowles, and Quinn Miners. So you're not going to want to miss this next 30 hours on our show. Make sure that you're dropping likes. And if you're tuning in the Toyota chat, just like Alex says, drop the likes. But also, we just want to give a shout out to everyone that's dropping in. Dion, scroll to the very top of the Toyota chat for me because I want to give a shout out to our guy, AK, who says, first time in the chat, only took 4 years. Welcome to the people that are new to the chat and the people that have been rocking and rolling with us in the chat for a long time.
I've heard there's like a new feature on YouTube where like it ranks the chat, like who's the best member of the chat each day.
Is that based off of just how many times they comment?
I don't know. I mean,
probably AI.
Who knows? Maybe Dion knows. He doesn't know.
Wow. You here? Do you know? He's going to double check.
If we can remember at the end of the show, let's give a shout out.
Let's find out who was the commenter of the day.
Commenter of the
Toyota
day.
chatter of the day.
The chatter of the day. Yeah. Oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's nice. So big show for us. And we're going to talk about Bo Nix's big advantage that he has today and this year that he hasn't had since high school. Where are we going with this?
Well, we know.
Yeah. That's tossing it to you.
Something that I think is not to be understated. That's the proper way to use that term.
Not to be, yes. That's a tough one to phrase too.
It is
because you say
negative
can't be understated. Then that would mean like it's impossible to understate.
Not to be understated.
Not to be means you shouldn't
understate. Yes. You shouldn't understate the fact that Bo Nix is going to be playing in the same offensive system, the same play caller, back-to-back years for the first time since he was in high school. And it's crazy to me that he's been as successful at as many places as he has going against that. Now, I would say everything at Auburn wasn't exactly a success, but pretty much since he left Auburn, he's just been successful time and time again, basically learning a new language every year. It's sometimes not as complicated as it sounds, but if you were to just think about learning a new language or learning something new that's different than what you've been doing for a whole year, it's incredibly challenging. And every time you do it, there's a long like incubation period before you can really break out of your shell.
Yeah. It was like Jurassic Park.
Yes, exactly. And so it's crazy to me that Bo Nix has been doing this year in, year out. And like last year, easily the most impressive of any of those. And now he just doesn't have to do it. And I can't imagine how good that must feel for him to just not have to go back to square one to start the offseason. To be able to start at, I don't know, what's he at, square 5? Square 3?
It's a tough question.
Who knows?
What square would you say Patrick Mahomes is at?
That's a good question. I would say he's at square 10.
Okay. So Bo's probably like square 3?
Square 3.
Yeah.
And so this is a big deal. And I think if you talk to quarterbacks specifically, or really any player who's had to learn a new offense, but definitely quarterbacks, they will tell you that you're being kind of set up for failure having to learn something new every year.
Well, let's just look at Patrick Mahomes, the guy that you just mentioned. How many play callers has he had throughout his career in the NFL? One. When he got to the NFL, it's been Andy Reid, and that has been such a major advantage for him. Now, obviously, he's
Eric Bieniemy called plays, but it's all been the same language. All very.
It's Andy Reid.
It's yes. I don't want to take credit away from EB because he was calling the plays.
I think he was calling some of the plays.
Sure.
I think Andy Reid, when it got to the situations, he was the one still calling. I don't think Andy Reid ever gave up full play calling, did he?
He did.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then credit to EB, but it's the same system. And it is the same verbiage, and it's the same playbook. It's the same scheme. Everything revolving around that is the same. And when you have one, that just sets you up for success game in, game out, but more importantly, year in and year out. Now, Bo, we talked about it last week. He's not thinking anymore when he goes up to the line of scrimmage. You know, if he were to have a new play caller, even the same teammates around him, but a new play caller, new system, he would still be thinking. That whole process would have to start over again, and it would just throw so many things off. Now he doesn't have to do that.
And it's why, and we're talking to Baldy today, when we talked to Baldy last week, he said, like, no, I think the slump for Bo Nix already happened. It was at the beginning of last season. Like, he's only moving forward from there. And, you know, I think that there's different reasons for sophomore slumps. It's not always because you're in a new offense or whatever. But for him to be at square 3, heading towards square 4, potentially
square 3 plus,
getting to square 5, 6, or 7.
Who's to say?
This year is really, really exciting. And again, something that I think is maybe being a little bit underrated and not highlighted enough.
Mm-hmm. A big thing to me is still just eventually you get to the point where you get to have some control over how things work. Or one of the things that Sean points out is that, you know, the best quarterbacks in the 2-minute drills call their own plays. You know, you go up there and you're just running everything yourself. And who knows if Bo gets to that point this year? Maybe that's square 6 or 7. But even just the opportunity to make little tweaks at the line of scrimmage, which again, talking to Todd back in the day, one of the things he said is that you'd never really get like permission to do those sorts of things. You just do them and it works. And so you get to keep doing it. And you just hope that Bo starts to feel comfortable enough to start playing the game a little bit more, like picking his matchups, figuring out how he wants to attack different things, and just has a little bit more freedom to take advantage instead of being a pure, system type quarterback, which he's good at. But in the NFL, you need to be able to elevate from there if you're going to be special.
And just how about this? In the past 5 years, not even going all the way back to high school, here are the play callers that Bo Nix has had. Sean Payton, Kenny Dillingham, Will Stein, Mike Bobo, Cody Burns, and Chad Morris. Past 5 years, he's had 6 different play callers. That's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for failure. That's a recipe to transfer from one school to another school and then not be drafted.
Yeah.
But the fact that Bo has transferred to one school to another school, been in the Heisman race, been a Heisman finalist, then a first-round pick, drafted in the top 12 picks, and then gone on to be the the first runner-up for Rookie of the Year, that's incredible. So the Toyota chat right now is asking, was last year Bo's floor? It easily could be. If I were putting money on, I would say that last year definitely was his floor, because this is such a big advantage. Ryan, you talk about languages all the time and learning a different language. Imagine starting a job and having to learn a new language, and then you continue that job, but every year they force you to do that job in a different language. Yep. And now you get to do the same job in the same language for the first time in 5 years, and you've been successful doing it. But now you get to just stick with the same language? How much easier is that going to be?
And what's crazy is you continue to be successful and you'll only just keep going. Like the same way that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are just going to stay together forever, Bo Nix can have that with Sean Payton. And Sean Payton, out of all the play callers you just named, is by far the best. And so this is like, there's a lot of things that could have gone right last year, and a lot of planets that needed to align, honestly, I thought, for the Broncos to make the playoffs in the first place. Mm-hmm. And now that step is in the rearview mirror, like, we have the early makings of football nirvana, which is just like a coach and a quarterback and an ownership group and a GM, we've talked about it a lot, all being aligned and just getting to march forward together. No one pulling back in different directions. No having to take a step back because you're replacing this person or that person. Like that last season and everything that went right is the true foundation of like what could be something really, really special.
100%. And we got a great comment from Damon in the Twitter chat that I want to hit after I give a shout out to our friends over that power the chat over at Toyota. Fellas, I was talking to a friend this weekend, and I was talking about his car. He got a new car a couple of years ago, and it's not a Toyota. And I couldn't believe how much he was just so wary of advising someone to get this car, because he said, yeah, you have to go to the dealership to get this car fixed, and you have to use their parts, and it's going to be very expensive every time you get an oil change. And I thought, why would you ever do that? Just get a Toyota. Yep. Where one, you don't even have to worry about the car breaking down, because these are cars known for going 200, 300,000 miles. And Toyota is all about the everyday person and providing excellent cars for everyone, whether you're looking for an awesome truck. The Tundra, man, a new one has started parking on my block, and it is a awesome looking truck. Can do it all. It's big, but the iForce Max Hybrid just gives it even more power that you need if you're going camping and you're hauling something. The Toyota Tundra is for you, and they've got every sort of car for every sort of person. And if you want to get your hands on a Toyota, visit a Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
And shout out to HelloFresh. We still do, I think at this point we do like 2 or 3 meals a week from HelloFresh. And there's all sorts of good stuff. I always like they have like a shepherd's pie that's really good. But they rotate through, so you get to try a whole bunch of different things. We just had pork chops. Pork chops was maybe Monday night. But basically anything you want to get there.
I recently had one that was like spicy maple chicken.
Oh, that's amazing.
Unreal.
Yeah.
You combine sweet and spice with the meat. Sweet meat. That's my favorite thing.
Wow.
Good to know.
My wife tells me that all the time. I'm like, that's right. Sweet meat is my favorite. I'm talking about meat. I'm talking about food.
Yes.
So you like, like some ribs with a brown sugar.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Bring this back.
Yeah. HelloFresh, they've got all sorts of good stuff. They make it easy. They send all of the ingredients right to your door with the instructions. So all you have to do is take it out, cut it up, make it, whatever the process is. They also have ready-made meals. So if you just want to heat them up and go, they're even easier than making it yourself. They only take 3 minutes. It's a whole bunch of good stuff. You can go check it out. Make your summer enjoyable and delicious by signing up for HelloFresh at HelloFresh.com/Nuggets10FM and get 10 free meals with a free item for life.
I believe Broncos 10 FM.
Oh, yep, there it is. There's one at the bottom. Yes. Broncos 10 FM and get 10 free meals with a free item for life. It's HelloFresh.com/Broncos10FM for 10 free meals and a free item in every box. HelloFresh.com/Broncos10FM. 1 per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan.
And
You know
shout
what
out
the FM stands for at the end?
free meal.
Or it's on the
And
radio.
free
You would
meal.
be able to figure it
Yeah.
out.
And shout out to everyone tuning in with us, especially the ones in the Toyota chat. Hit us with a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Speaking of the Toyota chat, there was a comment, if you don't mind scrolling up a little bit, Dion, from, I believe, Camden, who said Bo Nix's MVP odds are 75-1. And you mentioned Patrick Mahomes earlier. Patrick Mahomes won the MVP and technically his second season in the NFL with the same play caller, same people around him. Bo entering that second season. Those odds are crazy. I don't know if he's going to win, but 75-1 for a guy that we know can put up stats at every single level. I like that.
I feel like we're still... It seems like after OTAs is when that hype comes through, where there's like always the hot take storylines. I think like July was when Cowherd said Drew Lock is a dark horse MVP candidate. But I feel like in like a month we're gonna start hearing those things and people are gonna start floating like, I don't know, Bo Nix MVP candidate could be.
Well, we're doing it right now.
Yeah, we're ahead of it.
I want in on those odds.
Okay.
I think it's just underpriced.
Yeah.
So that's a ticket that I want to have in my back pocket. There's a lot that has to go right, but I think of it this way. If you believe the Broncos can win the division, which I think they're going to compete to do so, then you think Bo Nix can be MVP.
And how about this? What if he makes his MVP case on Christmas night in Kansas City, going up against Patrick Mahomes to not only win the division and lock up potentially the #1 seed in the AFC, but Bo Nix also locks up the MVP? How cool would that be?
It would be one hell of a dragon slaying moment.
Yes.
Not just beating the Chiefs, but beating them in December, beating them on Christmas. Some demons would be slayed during this.
Beating them in Arrowhead, that would be another dragon slayed because they haven't done it since Peyton Manning was the quarterback. Now, the Broncos have beat the Chiefs and snapped that disgusting losing streak that they had, so it's not as big of a deal. But man, Arrowhead has always been a tough place for anyone to play, specifically the Broncos. Like John Elway, I think, had 2 wins in Arrowhead in his career. For Bo Nix to get his first win in his second game in Arrowhead would be huge. And really, Bo Nix has done everything to get 2 wins in Arrowhead at that point because of what happened last year. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
4.5 point underdogs. They're plus 175 on the money line.
it's pretty darn good.
It is.
I like that. That's also Vegas giving a lot of credit to the Broncos. Going into Arrowhead, you're only 4.5 point dogs. That's pretty impressive. And it does show that Vegas kind of believes the Broncos
They're
are
now
going to
the
be
biggest-
competing for the division as well.
The biggest favorites in week 1, too.
Yep.
It's moved to 7.5.
Yep.
It's
As it,
only 19 and a
be.
half points short.
Yep, exactly. I
Wow.
agree with you. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back and actually hear from Bo talking about how much of an advantage it will be having the same play caller in back-to-back seasons for the first time in a long time. Here's Bo talking about that just last week.
Well, it's huge. It's kind of weird, going back first install. It's not new verbiage and not new things, so it made it a lot easier this year. Now it was tough to learn last year, but just being in a system and just kind of getting right back to where we were, just being able to call plays and understanding what it's like. So going longer than 365 days, just hearing the same thing, I think it's going to be really beneficial. And honestly, it felt weird because it hadn't been since high school. And so, I'm just used to learning different things. And so it's good not to have to, learn an entire new system this year, have the same play caller and have the same quarterback coach. So, and honestly, the same guys you're throwing it to, and same center, same O-line. I mean, the being the same, it's going to be, it's hard to even explain. It's going to, you're going to see it in ways that, you can't even understand. And it's just a natural thing to go out there and, just pick up right where you left off and not have to restart.
Bo has been done so dirty his entire career, I guess, dating back since high school. The fact that he has to be, surprised, yeah, I came in and it wasn't a new playbook and it was the same things. It was kind of weird. No, that's how it should be for any for any quarterback, whether you're in college, whether you're in the NFL. It should be the same, especially when you're successful like Bo has been. But I guess Bo was a little too successful at Oregon, and after his first year, well, then that offensive coordinator, Kenny Dillingham, was hired away, and then he goes to the NFL, and this is how it's supposed to be. And Sean, I know, wants to coach for potentially another decade. So if things continue to go in the right direction, he should be fine, and this should be the norm for him.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if that was something that maybe was part of the Broncos' evaluation of him. It was just he's being undervalued because he's never had the opportunity to go back-to-back years in the same system. Imagine how much better he could be, and when Sean Payton is evaluating a guy, he's evaluating, it's so different from the draft nicks or whatever that are evaluating these players. Sean Payton is directly evaluating for what I want to do.
Right.
And I think that there's potentially a chance that he said he's this good at learning these offenses that quickly. That's going to really shine through when what I want to ask him to do. And imagine in year 15 of Sean Payton and Drew Brees, the level of options that they had to go to. I can't even fathom it. And it's something that's okay, you might have learned this play. We might have installed it in year one, and we've obviously called it a few times throughout, but for whatever reason, a situation comes up and you just need to go back to it. And maybe you haven't used it in a couple of years even, but you like it in this specific game, in this specific matchup, and you can just go back to it. And when you have someone as smart as Bo Nix who processes information as well as he does, you can do that. So again, we're still at the very, very beginning, even though this feels like such a big step going into year two. It's still the very, very beginning of the process, which could grow to things that we can't even imagine.
Yep. And having the same offensive line, that also helps. Having so many of the same receivers, as much fun as it would have been to see, I don't know, Devontae Adams was out there. T. Higgins was a rumor. That's a guy who you have to start from scratch with chemistry-wise. And you add Pat Bryant, who will be one of your 5 receivers in the rotation. R.J. Harvey's new, Evan Ingram's new. But so much of this offense is going to be made up of the same people who've been there last year with Bo and then been playing together before that too. So you just hope that all that chemistry that you already have baked in is going to make things easier for him.
Yeah, 100%. Let's hear from Sean talking about this as well, because there's already some signs that Sean is so comfortable with Bo and knows how big of a deal this is. So let's hear from Sean, then I'll get to those points.
I think it's a positive. Just the stability in what we're doing offensively, his overall understanding. It kind of goes to the earlier question of him just out here taking the script, going through it, and feeling, almost like the plays can run off his tongue, where a year ago, you were having to repeat it twice. It's a lot different.
Just think about that. A year ago, he's having to repeat the plays twice, and we know how long Sean Payton's play calls can be and how much of a nightmare they can be. Now, Bo's not only thinking when he goes to the line, the play's done in 1 second, so he can get to the line with more time. He's not thinking about the play call, and just how successful Bo was last year with having to do all of that, and now just how different that is. It makes me think like, man, there really isn't a ceiling. Like the 75-1 MVP odds, that's incredible odds for just how much Bo could take off this year.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't talked about it in a while, but the way Sean does the play calls is he shortens them. Like you decide who you want to put the pressure on, or who you want to know best, because there's like the 10-word version of a play call where you just spell every single thing that's happening out, or there's the shortened version where you say like, okay, you've got these 3 routes on the right side. There's a name for that. And we can just use the 1 word for that, or the protection. There's the 1 word for that, or we could spell it out a little bit more. And going back to his time with Drew Brees, a lot of what he did was you get comfortable with Drew and you know that he is capable of saying the entire 10-word, like he knows it all, so he can spell it out for everybody else. The other option is you shorten as many different things as you can to put the stress on the receivers or on the running backs, whoever you want, which makes it easier for the quarterback. So you'd hope that at this point, assuming the philosophy is still the same as it was 5-6 years ago, that you get to have Bo kind of spell things out, and it just makes things click a little bit easier for the offense.
Yeah, well, and when we hear one of those play calls, it sounds like another language. It sounds like just a bunch of incoherent rambling and just an amalgamation of words. To the quarterback who actually knows the play and can visualize it in his head, he's literally just going through and saying, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing that. So it's like, if it's a flood concept, like he can remember, okay, I need this guy to do that. I need that guy to do that. It's not like he has to just memorize all of the words. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you actually understand what you're saying, you're just telling them what to do, sort of in a different language to the average person, but everyone speaks that language.
It's like you said last
100%.
week. When you're first learning a language, you have to translate all the words you're trying to say in your head. And when you actually know it, you're not translating, you're just speaking the other language.
Yes, exactly.
One more thing that Sean dropped last week in his press conference that I think went under the radar, and I think it speaks to his comfortability with Bo and Bo's comfortability with the offense. Sean shortened this offseason program for the Broncos, and he did it by at least a week. So the Broncos could have had another week of OTAs next week, then their mandatory minicamp the week after. But instead, Sean said, man, I want to make sure that these guys have their full 5 weeks off before training camp. He said he could have pushed it so it was only 4 weeks, but decided, no, I need to get these guys their time off. And plus, he said, he said, we eliminated a week of football because we're going to have a lot of time for football moving forward. Sean wouldn't have done that if he wasn't comfortable with where his quarterback was with this. And if they're in a quarterback battle just like they were last year, you know what they did? They had 4 weeks of OTAs and then the mandatory mini camp. So I just think his actions are backing up his words, because when he had Drew Brees at the end of their time together, you know what Sean was doing? He was canceling mandatory mini camp. In fact, he even canceled the off-season program with Drew, because if your quarterback knows it, that makes life so much easier. And so this is the first sign of him actually showing, like, no, we're good. I'm comfortable going into training camp right now. So we'll just do a little bit of football, and then we'll be good, ready to go in training camp.
That's crazy that he canceled the whole offseason program.
Yep. That's ultra confidence in your team.
Someone should make sure that the Broncos veterans know that. Like, if you guys get good enough at this stuff, you'll have a whole summer break.
Yep. That would be crazy. Fans and media right now think that we don't get enough content from the Broncos, just like we talked about yesterday a little bit. Imagine no off-season program.
I still can't get over it, dude. I still can't get over the fact that it's like I've seen hundreds of plays and days and highlights from other teams, and I've seen like 3 from the Broncos.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, just today, right before the show, you showed me a throw of Shador, and I'm like, man, we would never be able to tweet that out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just from the media being out there recording.
Yep.
It's crazy. It is crazy. And speaking of some national views, we're going to talk to our guy, Brian Baldinger, in just a second. But I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Monarch Money, where a year ago from now, I was probably spending the first few days of every month trying to track where my money went the past month to see how I can get it better. And now with Monarch Money, I just use them. They tell me where my money's going. They help me follow my money. And the really cool thing about Monarch Money, and the thing that really separates them in my mind, is they combine every place your money is, from investments to checking accounts to savings accounts to credit cards. They put it all into one place, so it's very easy for you to know where your money is, where it's going, and how best to use it. And they are Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. So don't just take it from me, and don't just take it from Wall Street Journal either. They have their top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 5-star reviews. Financial stress is one of the top reasons relationships fall apart. Monarch Money makes that conversation a lot easier and straightforward. And if you want 50% off your first year, go to monarchmoney.com and use the code DNVR. So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money by going to monarchmoney.com. Use that code DNVR, and you're going to get half off your first year over at monarchmoney.com with code DNVR.
And shout out to our friends over at Empire. Yeah, you read the second one first. Empire. Wow, Empire, the best. Let's see. I don't know if I have any great floor stories at the moment. I've mostly been on the couch recently. Oh, we did the big vacuum and wash, but we talked about that.
I've been experimenting with Pilates recently.
Wow, getting flexible, huh?
Really?
Yeah, working on it. A lot of floor work there.
Yeah. So you usually use the mat, right?
Well,
what if there was like a mat-based floor?
Ooh, like I think they call it a reformer board that was built into your Empire floor.
Wow.
That's impressive.
But then, like, if you were to
could be
go to
cool.
the Pilates studio, why does everybody bring all their mats when you could just make the floor out of mat?
Well, see, you're thinking of yoga.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yoga has
Pilates
mats.
is a machine.
Pilates
Oh,
has more.
really?
Yeah.
But also, there's some stuff where you're getting down on the ground, and you don't want to do that unless you have a nice high quality floor,
Yeah.
like
True.
you have at Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
And you can get
There
$350
you go.
off.
You blew his mind
No,
too
I was
much.
just trying to think of what that floor would even look like. Empire is the best. You could check out what any of their floors will look like in your home with your furniture using their little VR app. That's virtual reality. Yeah. Empire is the best. Schedule free in-home estimate today. Some things are better at home. DNVR listeners can receive a $350 discount when using the promo code DNVR. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DNVR. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DNVR for full details.
Speaking of the best, let's bring in the best out there. Our guy Brian Baldinger is joining us right now. Baldy, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, guys. I've been checking out some OTAs. I was at the Dolphins yesterday, heading to the Bucks tomorrow. So I'm just kind of catching up with some football right here. But everything's good in my world.
Baldy, we need a Baldy sighting out in the Mile High City. When's Sean going to bring you out here?
I don't know. I'm waiting. Sean wants to send me the ticket. I'm coming. I saw him at the Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter's pro day. So I thought the invitation would be out there by now.
I'll make sure to tell him tomorrow to get you out here. And Baldy, one of the conversations we had yesterday was who the Broncos starting running back is going to be week one. And there's a little bit of a disagreement between us here with Audric Estime, Jaleel, Blake Watson, and of course, RJ Harvey now in town. Who do you think the Broncos starting running back in week one is going to be?
I would say RJ Harvey's going to get a good chance to win the job, but I believe that Jaleel has won the trust of Sean Payton. It won't surprise me just because I think he knows he's a good receiver. He catches the screens, good the checkdowns. My guess is it's going to be Jaleel. That'd be my early guess, but I think RJ Harvey will get a good look here.
I'm curious about Jaleel. It feels like, he is a good receiver. You get him on the screens, you get him on the swing routes. He can change angles on defenders, get outside the linebackers, get big plays. We haven't seen the route running much, where you split him out in the slot or even out of the backfield, kind of run him upfield instead of just giving the ball behind the line of scrimmage. Do you think that now being in year 3 of Sean's offense, if they were to really focus in on that with him, is that something that could still kind of come along?
It can. I mean, I think he had 24, 25 catches last year, but he obviously did that with Kamara, and he loved it. He had hit him and Michael Thomas on the same side, weak side. They ran a lot of two-man games, a ton of two-man games, and Drew Brees was just basically just reading coverage. It was pretty simple where the ball was going to go. But I have a feeling that if he was going to do it, he would have done it. But if he's going to do it, this would have been the offseason to implement it. And then, if he doesn't do that with Jaleel, it's not a knock. It's just that Kamara was just so special in what he did from the slot on the weak side. I mean, it was a ton of activity over there for him. So I don't know that Sean feels like RJ or Jaleel or Aldrick or any of these guys are Alvin Kamara at this point.
One of the things we were talking about today is the fact that Bo Nix is going into his second year in a system for the first time since he was in high school. He's had a new play caller every year since he was in high school. And, the analogy we used was like learning a new language every year. Is it that dramatic, or is there a better kind of analogy for what it's like to learn a new offense every single year?
I think part of this is COVID. Part of this is the transfer portal. All these things have happened in college football, so that guys are playing a lot more games than we're used to seeing. And so you get these different coordinators because you're moving from school to school. From Auburn to Oregon to Denver. I mean, that is happening more frequently. I think it's a good sign that these guys can adapt and learn new systems and adjust. The college game is a lot more simplistic, but it's a good thing that he doesn't have to digest a new system after digesting Sean's, because it's only going to expand his role in the run game, how he sees the run game, the better plays that he has in his headset that he gets to choose from right now. I think this is typically I say that most players, especially quarterbacks, the greatest growth they can make is between their first and their second year. I would say, at least from a mental standpoint, that's going to take place with Bo this year. Is it like learning a different language every year? To a degree it is, but it also shows you that he can adapt and learn. Shedeur Sanders is on his sixth coordinator, since he left high school. So, it does show that you can learn. I do think that the carryover this year, I think his what he can call from his call sheet will grow a lot this year in what he gets to choose from, getting to the best play possible.
Baldy, you talked about how the biggest growth from a quarterback is from year one to year two. Bo had a really good rookie season, the runner-up for the rookie of the year, just behind Jaden Daniels. How shocked would you be if he is in that MVP conversation this season? Because the odds right now are 75-1, which to me just seems absolutely crazy. I'm not saying he's going to be in that MVP conversation, but I want to get your outside perspective. What is that just crazy talk to say that maybe he's included in that, or could you see that potentially happening?
No, I think it's kind of crazy talk at this point.
That's fair.
Burrow in this league and Patrick Mahomes and Jaden Daniels. I mean, there's a lot of other guys that have been around here a long time. I mean, Josh Allen's the MVP. Lamar Jackson has been a two-time MVP. I mean, there's just guys that are further along. I mean, I do think you have to kind of caution a little bit of it. I know the excitement is big. I mean, the schedule was pretty favorable last year. I think they beat one team with a winning record in Tampa Bay early in the year. So I would, and I'm not trying to throw cold water on the excitement in Denver right now, but I do think, look, I mean, in their own division, it's going to be tough. They lost to the Chargers twice. I know they beat Kansas City at the end of the year when Kansas City sat everybody. But, that would be, to me, there's certain games this year where you really want to see if he's at an MVP level. Like, put him up against the Chargers. They lost to the Chargers twice by a touchdown last year. They scored points. They gave up a lot of points. But the Chargers, to me, I know Kansas City, everybody's gunning for Kansas City. But if I'm Denver, like beating the Chargers and beating Harbaugh, to me, is a big deal. Like, they obviously resurrected and really rekindled the excitement with the Chargers, just like the Broncos did. But that's those are games. I think they play in the third week of the season too. Like that'd be a game. I know they play Tennessee and Indy, I think, to start, but like that third game against the Chargers, if you want to have an MVP conversation, how's he playing that game against the Chargers? And do they win that game? And then you might be able to ratchet up that excitement about that conversation.
Yeah. I'm curious if you think they upgraded enough this offseason, specifically with the playmakers, because you look at last year, the defense was awesome. Offensive line was more than good enough, but it's just, are you explosive enough on offense to compete consistently, to put up big numbers, to scare teams? Obviously, you add Evan Ingram, you replace Javonte with RJ Harvey. If you had been running the Broncos, would you have done more than that, or do you think that that's enough to kind of take them over the top?
Maybe, this wasn't the greatest year for wide receivers in a draft. And so, if there was Matthew Golden hanging around there when the Broncos traded or picked, that might be a guy that you might have been interested in. It wasn't a great draft. I mean, you could say Ted McMillan, whatever, but it hasn't been as deep as it has been. So, you might have said, okay, let's go get ourselves a true number one. Now, I don't know what Pat Bryant's going to be. I think Evan Ingram is a true playmaker. He's a great receiving tight end. He's not a great blocker. They can handle that with other guys. But I feel like, Ingram, I think, is an upgrade in what you can do with him, especially if you go back and you look at that first year in Jacksonville when it looked like Jacksonville was going to run away with that division and they collapsed. But he got off to a great start. He had 100 catches. He's got real volume, number of catches in him. And then we'll see if RJ Harvey becomes, the leading back and an explosive leading back, the way we've seen some of these rookie backs, come into this league right now. That might be enough right now.
Broncos obviously have a lot invested in their offensive line and have some really good players on that line. But obviously they weren't able to get anything going in the run game last year. What do you think has to change for them to get some momentum in that area this year?
Well, I think the passing game can open things up. If you start respecting, especially the deep passing game where the safeties can't be as nosy as they might have been, that's going to help. And then I just think the second year in the system, they should be better. I mean, Zac does a good job of coaching. Morgan is there right now. Chris Morgan, he's been around this league. I think they're going to have a good system. I would say the second year in this system and how they run the ball and how they, when you're a rookie quarterback, if it was Drew Brees in his day, he ran the running game and, he'd see a light box and switch to a run. I don't know that Bo was able to do that or could do that last year. But I think the second year in the system, the quarterback, if he sees two safeties playing cover two and it's, second and 10, I mean, it might be a good play for Bo Nix to hand it off to RJ Harvey and go get 5 yards. And so I think some of that is on the quarterback. Some of it is the passing game that opens things up in the run game. And then the second year in the system, they should be better up front with the blocking assignments right now. So I think all those things can contribute to a better running game.
Baldy, final one for you. Of course, every team goes with their quarterback and takes steps as their quarterback takes steps. So putting Bo Nix aside, who is the Broncos' X factor this season?
I think RJ Harvey could be the X factor. I just think that we're seeing a renaissance in the NFL right now to running the football. You saw the Eagles last year. They ran it 725 times. You saw the Ravens. You saw Detroit. You saw Green Bay. They all ran it more than they threw it. I feel like that's a trend, and I've been tracking it now for 2 years. It's becoming more of a running game. And I think RJ Harvey, if he's the guy, if he truly is what they think, I think they think he is, he could be the X factor right now for this offense and for this team. Because I think if you can run it, you can control the clock, you can control the tempo, you can control the explosiveness that Kansas City has played with when you're keeping Mahomes on the sideline. And so I feel like he could be the X factor this year because we don't know. We don't know till he gets out there. Sean certainly has had his a lot of great running backs throughout his career. And maybe this is going to be the guy that becomes the next guy in that line.
I love that. And Baldy, you're our guy. Thank you so much for jumping on with us today. Enjoy June, and we will look forward to catching up with you next week.
You got it, Zach. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Man, love talking to Baldy. I can't wrap my mind around 700 rushing attempts in a season.
Yeah.
Is that 40 per game?
I don't know. You're the math guy.
Pretty sure.
But I love
17 and a half.
That's not true.
700. I was looking at 40. There we go.
41.
41. There
I
we go.
said
Yeah.
leave the
There
math,
we go.
Zach.
Yeah.
I divided by 40.
I just love how football is like a perfect ecosystem. Anytime you think that everything is shifting this way, there's a reshift back the other way. And so it's like, it's all about passing right now. It's all that matters is the passing game. The run game is just a chore that you have to do. And so then everyone gets super light, and they get light safeties and light linebackers and lighter, defensive linemen. And then someone somewhere is like, cool, we'll just run it more now. And then everyone's unprepared to be able to stop the run because they have these pass-happy defensive sets. And then everyone starts getting back on that train, and then it moves back the other way. It's just like, I don't know. I always think about how, like, whoever invented these sports, I don't think they ever could have predicted, like, how much of a perfect ecosystem it becomes, where it just, like, exists within itself and evolves and changes, and then there's always, like, a counter movement to keep it so there never has to be, like, massive changes to the rules.
It reminds me of, like, in baseball, like, somehow the matchups between, like, pitchers and batters are just perfect. Like somehow it's like, 1 in 3 times this guy gets a hit, and it's like the mound is where it is, it's elevated how it is, and it's just like somehow, like, the odds of it working out that perfectly versus like you can never hit, it's just impossible to hit, or like you always hit it because it's so easy.
I always think about how it's perfect difficulty to get 10 yards.
Yeah.
And it just always has been.
Always has been.
How does that work?
It's crazy. And it always changes where it's like Baldy was saying, like, oh, you have the 2 safeties deep, you run the football. Well, the 2 safeties deep thing, that was the whole, like, Vic Fangio defense. Don't let him get big plays. Like, this guy's a genius. It eliminates the passing game. And it's like, now everybody just runs because you got 2 safeties back there. So what are they going to do? Just 1 safety back there, another defender up closer. And so then you start throwing the ball again. It's perfect.
And how about this? Baldy just sent me a text with more information on that 700. So the Eagles played in 21 games last year because 4 in the postseason. 725 rushing attempts in those 21 games. 3rd most in NFL history. Just 5 years ago when Brady, I guess 10 years ago when Brady and Manning, and then you had Mahomes come later, it seemed like, oh man, this is just going to be a passing league forever. The NFL loves it because there's just so many points being scored. And then just a couple years later, the Eagles turn around and win a Super Bowl by having the 3rd most rushing attempts in NFL history.
Yeah, and I mean, the other team that I thought was arguably the best team in the league last year was the Ravens. And they're running the ball with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And the Broncos leave Brandon Jones deep and just have man coverage across the board, wind up with great numbers against anybody who wants to run the ball on them.
Yep, exactly. Okay, I've got some good news for you guys, and I know it's going to relieve at least you two.
Yes,
You two are going to be very happy about this, and I think the chat is going to be happy about this as well. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to the diehards that are in the chat, that are listening on the podcast side, that are in the Toyota chat. We really appreciate you, and we hope that you appreciate us if you're a diehard, because we hope to be giving you a lot. If you become a diehard right now, we've always got our introductory offer going on, and that introductory offer isn't just going to get you a shirt, isn't just going to get you all of our content, not just Broncos, but Rockies, Avs, Nuggets, Rams, Buffs, every single team that we cover. So many perks. And if you stop by the bar for NBA Finals, NHL, Stanley Cup, you're going to get a discount at the bar if you're a diehard, like you will all the time. But we're going to be playing those games here. So if you want a fun environment to watch those, you can come stop by the bar and become a diehard. And if you do, make sure to say hello in the chat, because we want to welcome you officially to the diehard community. So we appreciate everyone that is a diehard, and you can become a diehard by going to thednvr.com. All right.
And Sunday, there's the Suite at the Rockies game. So
Yes.
if anybody wants to get a piece of that, I was surprised at the price, because you hear Suite I guess you also hear Rockies, but you'd think it'd be a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Hey, up 3-0 right now, going for the sweep.
No
My
way,
goodness.
Yep,
bro.
going for the sweep.
My goodness, Marlins are down bad.
If
Yeah.
you get swept by the Rockies, just move the team.
I mean, there's no fans there anyway. Nobody would notice.
I know. That's what I mean. Like, give them to Jacksonville or
Or come to
somewhere
Denver.
else.
We could use a second.
No.
No.
Get them out of Florida.
I
Florida.
don't want another bad baseball team.
Florida isn't a sports state.
Maybe a merger.
Wow. As the Florida Panthers are in the Stanley Cup, going
Wow.
for back-to-back
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
Competing
Not
for
a
a
sports
championship
state.
tonight.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. The Rays won recently. The Lightning won 2 recently. The
They
Bucks
did.
won recently.
Just because your teams are good doesn't make you a sports state.
Okay.
You also
It's
have like
about the fans,
fans?
And how much they buy in. You just tune in. How many fans are at this game? I bet you can count them on your hands and toes.
Well, I wouldn't use a team's attendance on a midday.
Okay, well, look at yesterday's
There's-
game. Look at the game
there
before.
were, okay. Last night I saw there were at least a few dozen.
That's exactly my point.
Oh.
I think that the problem is there's too many sports teams there.
Well,
That's
they
what
also
I'm saying. Move some of them out.
Yeah.
They
the
also
Marlins gotta go.
produce a lot of talent.
It's true.
Like
A lot
I feel
of
like
talent.
Florida football players, Florida basketball players, they have
Yep.
that going for them.
Yeah,
Look at
Trying to
Minnesota
say
has all the
Florida
hockey
football
players,
players
but
are the best.
coupleless.
without a doubt. I'm not saying take sports out of Florida. I'm just saying get those professional league teams out of
At
there.
least a
Pat
couple
Surtain.
of them.
And speaking of Florida-born athletes, Pat Surtain was at Broncos OTA practice yesterday.
Huge.
Nothing to worry about. Made everyone a little bit on their toes
Yep.
for a weekend, but then he was there yesterday along with Champ Bailey. So, guys, we don't have to worry. Number 2 is there.
Thank God.
Big time.
It's one of those things where it doesn't really matter, but it just feels so good. Like the Broncos post the video of just Pat and Champ standing there talking, and like that's my heart is full.
Yes.
Like that's what it's all about. It's just get there, let us have our nice little videos. I think they also posted what was the other one? Was Bo talking to somebody?
Peyton?
No. Bo and Peyton. There was a picture of that on.
I think that was an old picture.
it
Not
was an old
yesterday.
picture, but I think there was another former player. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it was
I
just
could be
Champ. They
wrong.
posted Champ
Just Champ?
multiple times.
Okay.
They posted a picture of Champ talking to RJ Harvey. And man, we talked about it yesterday, just how Aqib Talib told us that Jade Barron has the cheat code with Pat Surtain, being able to learn from under him. How about the resource of Champ Bailey as well?
Yeah.
Like,
Unbelievable.
You are in the perfect spot to grow into an elite cornerback here in Denver.
100%. And I can't remember if I told you guys this, but Champ was at Buff's Pro Day.
Yeah.
And it was so cool because obviously, you know, the players on CU get to be around Deion Sanders every day, which
Yep.
is a pretty special thing. But then Coach Prime was like, go talk to him. So all of the defensive backs that were there were just like huddled around Champ, like just eyes so wide open, just soaking up anything he would tell them. And like he was talking to those guys for, I would say, almost an hour.
Wow.
And it was just like they're all gathered around just trying to soak up anything they could from Champ. It was really cool.
And didn't Champ's son get an offer from CU?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
I mean, imagine growing up with Champ Bailey as your dad, and then you get to go play for Deion Sanders potentially. I'm sorry, Coach Prime.
you're set up for a lot of success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really are. So, really good news coming out of Broncos OTAs tomorrow or yesterday. And reminder, tomorrow we're going to be out there at OTAs, so our show won't be until 5:45 as when we'll be going live from Coors Field. And before we get to that show, we got a lot of super chats to hit right now. First one coming in from Valley Bandit, who says, new nickname for the defense, Gridlock Gang, because there are no lanes open.
Not bad.
Definitely not bad. Definitely not bad.
That kind of works with like the run game and the pass game too. I guess it's specifically more for the run game, but
I would, yeah. Gridlock always it gives you the vibe of like it's not as like physical. It's not like the defense is coming to get you. It's just like like everything just kind of
You're
stuck.
stuck.
But again, not bad. Not
Yeah.
bad.
isn't that what you want in a defense though, where the offense is just stuck?
I mean, but you don't want stuck because like we're just not really doing anything. We're sitting here. We want like stopped. Like car wreck gang, would be.
We can work with it.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Like it's a minor complaint.
I think we actually had even more, Deanna, if you could find the other suggestions. But we got another super chat from O-Rod right here, who says, boys will be flying out from California to Denver for my bachelor trip July 4th weekend. Any tips to have the best weekend possible? Go Broncos. What a perfect combination.
Yeah.
Your bachelor party in Denver on the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I don't know. I always associate like a perfect 4th of July weekend with a boat. So maybe you go over to like Cherry Creek Reservoir, try to make some friends with people that have a boat. Maybe you can rent boats there. I don't know. I assume you can. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
That seems like that would be a vibe.
I would say, as somebody who just booked flights to Minnesota for the 4th of July last night, it would be really nice to be in Denver for the Rockies series that starts the 4th of July against the White Sox, because the White Sox suck.
Yeah, they're worse than the Marlins.
If that doesn't appeal to you, and I'd imagine they're doing fireworks and all that.
They are doing fireworks. That's
Rockies do have the best fireworks in town.
They do.
It's incredible. They do such a good job with that, and especially if that's going to be the start of your night out on that Friday or Saturday, because I think they have fireworks both of those days.
Yep.
Especially on a bachelor party, get rooftop tickets. You got to experience that. Oh, right. Even if you're not a Rockies fan or a baseball fan, it's the coolest outdoor bar in Denver, especially 4th of July. If you want to stay for the fireworks, you can, and then you're right downtown to go out after.
And the Rockies will win the series.
No one cares.
No. So, O-Rod, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Maybe you do boat in the day and Rockies at night.
Yeah.
One of those days.
They play the Dodgers, Brewers, and Astros before that series. 8-game losing streak is on the table, which would mean guaranteed win going into that.
If you need like golf course recommendations, I got you there. You guys could do not the Colorado 9, but just the standard 9. Just nine hot dogs, 9 beers, and 9 innings.
Do you want to explain what the Colorado 9 is?
Yeah, that is 9 ski runs, 9 holes, 9 innings.
A-Basin is still open right now. Maybe they're open on July 4th.
I think they have been before.
They have. You know the latest that a ski run has been open in Colorado in the history?
I'll just say it never closed.
That's close. Middle of August.
Okay.
They've been open. Have you guys ever done the 999? Either the Colorado or the baseball one?
No.
I haven't either. Would you be interested in doing the baseball one?
I think I'd rather do the Colorado one.
Wow.
One is like good for your health, arguably.
It's true.
One, I just can't imagine the heartburn that would come along with 9 hot dogs and 9 beers.
Yeah. I'd rather just enjoy the game and spend less money.
Well, you're busy, keeping score and
Yeah,
stuff.
No, I don't keep the score. I've tried like the radio thing, but the problem is I don't have an actual radio. I have to stream.
You got to get the head. You can
I know.
find these, dude.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like eBay's got to have the headphones with the
I
AM
mean,
radio built in.
Yeah.
Lexi is gone this weekend, and the Rockies have a home series. The Mets. So
Please just give us a selfie if you find the radio headphones.
I'll see what they cost. 'Cause the thing is, the streaming has the 30-second delay.
Oh,
And it's all
that's
right,
terrible.
but it
Oh,
doesn't.
you can't do that.
I know. Because sometimes you hear something you're like, oh, it's good to know, but I wish I'd known 30 seconds sooner.
Right. Yeah. Next one coming in from our friend Josh Morton, who says, Sean Payton canceled that offseason program because he was disappointed in their conditioning and effort back in 2006. Well, that would have been his... That doesn't make any sense at all. That would have been his first year with the Saints. I'm talking about like 2021.
I think
or
it was the
something
COVID
like
year.
that. I think he did it multiple times.
Okay.
And I don't think maybe it was a COVID year, but it was also another year that wasn't the COVID year as well. It was because he was happy with where the guys were at, but that doesn't make any sense to cancel the offseason program because he was disappointed where with the conditioning level was at. That's what most of the offseason program is conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I know with the COVID one, I was just curious because you said it. They could have done like the virtual stuff, but he's like, we don't want to do any like Zoom calls or talk football. And he said, just come back here in the best shape of your life. So it could be something along those lines where you say like, I'm disappointed in you. Go work hard and show up in the best shape of your life. Again, you'd think like you could do that here.
Or else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Seriously.
Or else.
Last one coming in from Aiden Garcia says, how often do you think Joe Lombardi calls plays? Don't think he does.
No.
Maybe Sean's like, what do you think? Should we go with this one or this
Totally,
one?
yeah.
Helps build the play sheet too.
There's communication for sure, but Sean's the one calling plays there.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us today. Thank you for everyone who tuned in with us on the podcast side and especially on the YouTube side and dropped us a like. We appreciate you. Again, big 30 hours. Make sure to stay tuned for our interview with Alex Singleton coming this afternoon / this evening. And tomorrow's a big one. We will see you tomorrow night. Have a terrific hump day. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.